Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone to MAR Talks, Transforming Dialogue, how self-awareness is key to anti-racism and collective liberation. And we're talking with Taraneh Erfan this morning. My name is Carrie Cavers. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the founder of Moms Against Racism Canada. I am joining the space as a biracial, Black presenting, cisgender, neurodivergent woman and mom to three kids. That is part of the perspective that I bring to our chat, and I am very grateful to be a guest on the traditional territories of the Lekwungen people, which is the Songhees and Esquimalt nations in what is colonially referred to as Victoria, BC. And Mara is so honored to welcome Taraneh this month as we are exploring how transformative self-awareness and communication can be in anti-racism work. And so through her very powerful therapeutic writing and poetry, Taraneh reveals how meaningful change in the world begins from within, which is very much what we believe in Mar. And so together this morning, we're going to be um, looking at how cultivating that self-awareness can help us reimagine a just and liberated future. So we're going to talk a little bit about, kind of in a roundabout way, how our us versus them mindset, or how that mindset can shape and hinder our anti-racism efforts and how we show up. Really kind of underscoring the essential role of that conscious communication in breaking down these barriers that we have. So, want to acknowledge and thank Government of Canada for being able to bring this MAR Talks to you all in the MAR Talks series, and that we love doing this, being able to bring in our greater community to have the opportunity to talk through and discuss those intersecting topics of anti-racism, inclusion, and advocacy from the perspective of BIPOC leaders, change makers, and inspiring public figures. So we're very grateful to have the opportunity to share these talks as a catalyst for deeper education and learning. And today, as I said, we have the privilege of speaking with Taraneh Erfan about how self-awareness and mindful communication can transform our anti-racism work. So welcome, Taraneh. Thank you for being with us today. And you're in your car and you're
Thank you.
traveling and you're sharing your time with us. So thank you so much. I was hoping
Mhm.
that maybe you could take a moment to introduce yourself.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Carrie and Marta. Hi, everyone. Um, an introduction to me. Yes, my name is Taraneh Erfan. I am a first generation immigrant settler. Um, I have been living um, on the unceded ancestral lands of the Squamish people for the last 4 years. And last night at 10:30 p.m., I decided to take a ferry very last minute. So I am calling you via Starlink in very van life fashion, but still from the Squamish nation in what is colonially known as Gibsons, BC. I am hmm, how to best go to this. Um, I'm a cis gendered um, a female. My pronouns are her. I am mom to two magic humans and one dog. I My children are biracial, and um, I was, following Moms Against Racism on Facebook for the last year or so. And so I'm aware of some of the work that their organization does. In my life, I work full time as a registered clinical counselor and a spiritual coach. I am an author to a book called Conscious Grieving: The Path to Awakening Through Loss, which was published in 2021. And it was a result of my personal and professional kind of coming to what it means to live more consciously and more aware within the context of personal and collective grief. I'm gonna clear myself so that I can feel fully grounded for this session. And while I do that, I invite you all to do the same so that you can feel more, the most present you can for our time together today. If you feel comfortable to do so and you're in a space that allows, please feel free to close your eyes to go inward for a moment. If not, I invite you to choose something around the room that feels grounding and still, allowing our body to come to ease so that our mind can be at ease and more receptive to not just the thoughts and ideas that will come out in word form, but also the internal pieces, the energetic pieces that may move through us in our time together. Let's take a moment to connect to the earth below us. So if you haven't already done so, feel your feet and your seat. Feel your body arrive more fully in space and time. Where are you really? Bring your awareness to your breath and let that breath guide you more fully into your body. Noticing the ways that the chair or the couch or the bed or the floor beneath you supports you, and the earth below that, how it's holding you up. Visualize or sense for a moment all the air particles that are hugging your every curve, holding your beautiful and precious body and being here in this time. And as you connect to what is around you and what is beneath you, take a moment in your own heart and mind to acknowledge the lands from which you are calling it from. Even if you're not aware of whose traditional lands you reside on or you're calling in from, just take a moment to sense into the spirit of this land, thanking its stewards for all the years gone by, bringing into your awareness the people, the animal and plant kin shared this earth that's below you. Notice if you had kind of a hope or an intention or a desire that brought you into this session today, and reconnect to that. The kerfuffle of technology can sometimes disconnect us from those deeper reasons and those deeper meanings, and we might accidentally go into autopilot of how we show up into sessions. So this is an invitation to reconnect to your deeper why for being here. Take a few intentional inhales and exhales. You can either open your eyes or bring your eyes back to the screen when you're ready. And we will reconnect with Carrie. And I feel like that was more of an introduction to who I am than like my bibbity bobbity talk of like who I am and these are my words. So I hope you have a better sense of me.
That was a wonderful, thank you. I really appreciated how in that moment you recognized, what was needed and you took what was needed. And um, I think that's so important and a big part of that self-awareness too, right? When we're doing this work, it can get really heavy and really busy, and sometimes we just need to take a moment to ground ourselves. So thank you. Um, so with that, how do you feel about letting me ask you some questions?
I am ready. I think what I might do is share the screen. Um, and please let me know, what do you see right now?
I
Do you,
see.
do you see the screen?
I do. I see the screen
You do.
and I see all of your icons at the bottom, just so that you are aware.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Um, okay. So let's see here. Hopefully, oh, that was the intro. That's
That was
that's
it.
how
Yeah.
that was it. That you got a little bit of that. Today we're gonna have our Q&A. Then I'm hoping to lead us into a little practice that actually embodies some of the things that we're going to be talking about, and then hopefully at the end we have some time to talk through what else.
Okay. So I was hoping that we could kind of start by taking a moment to reflect on and discuss what self-awareness and mindful communication truly means, because we've used those words. And so, can you share how you personally define self-awareness and mindful communication?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Um, I would say self-awareness. I mean, the words might be a bit self-explanatory, but if we kind of double click and we go like a little bit deeper, just like a little bit more into what does it really mean to be aware, we're talking about how well do we know ourselves?
Mhm.
What are my patterns? What are the ways that I show up? What are my triggers? What are my blind spots? What are my worries, my projections? My hopes, my dreams, the edges of my knowledge and my knowing, as well as the edges of my healing.
Mm.
Um, I think self awareness is not just this thing that um, you have or you don't have, it's a way of being. So we are self aware or we are out of self awareness. I want to apologize about that. I have no idea why that's happening, and I'm um, hoping that it was momentary. But you can hear me right now, Carrie?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, okay. So my apologies, everyone. What a terrible lesson to learn on my part. Um, um, I'm gonna try my best to refocus my energy on delivering the content, and um, I am hopeful that you will receive what you were hoping to get out of this.
Oh my goodness, don't even worry. Don't worry at all. We are all y- well, many of us, I will say many of us are moms and parents, and we are used to pivoting on the fly and just going with things. So we are grateful that you are here and sharing with us in however that works out for today. So please do
That's
not stress about that.
that's very gracious of you. Thank you. Okay, going back into this question of self-awareness and mindful communication. So, I mean, in some ways, I feel like this very terrible example of what's happening is great mindful communication. I'm coming forward honestly with bringing forward what is unsaid but is
Mm,
felt and presenting it as very real, like it's not something to shy away from, but that level of self-awareness to know, okay, I am feeling shame, I'm feeling worry, I'm feeling I can see my triggers going up of, you know, berating myself for, see, you shouldn't go on adventures. You should do the thing. You should, stick to the plan. But what's about being able to be this honest with myself and hopefully with you as well is that ideally it provides the opportunity for us to have real, meaningful conversations. And the reason that this feels important is that without real, honest conversations and real, honest self awareness, we can't really have true connections. And if we want to be doing anti racism work, and if we want to be doing the work of liberation, we need to have that um, ability to connect on a more meaningful, deeper level so that our anti racism work and our community building work and our liberation work is not surface level. It's this embodied, true experience. Because the reality is that without this deeper connection to the self, this deeper awareness of the self and how we come across in dialogue or in community, we're unable to really make impact. It's just like it will all be too surface. We will just glide on the surface if we aren't doing that deeper work. So that's how it's important. I think that might even be the next slide, Carrie, that kind of
Oh, yeah, that's
um,
right.
going to that.
I was so just wrapped up in what you were saying. I forgot to switch the slide.
No worries. Um, I've added a couple of slides with words from some of the beautiful teachers of our time, one being Prentice um, Hemphill, who, if you don't know their work, they're an incredible teacher. And um, their book, What It Takes to Heal, is an incredible resource
Mm.
for understanding and knowing um, how to do that self awareness, deeper self awareness work in order to be doing liberatory work. And if, their pronouns are they, them, and you can find them at Prentice Hemphill on Instagram or on other social media if you wish.
Amazing.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, and you kind of
Oh,
answered
okay.
this one.
Yeah.
And I like I would like to, if I may, can I add
Mhm.
some one of the things, and you kind of spoke to this a little bit, that comes up, and it's one of the tenets of white supremacy is that perfectionism. And
Mhm.
in doing this work, I find it comes up for myself, and I definitely notice when it comes up for others as well, of wanting to show up being like the perfect ally or doing anti-racism perfectly. And that need to be perfect does create that disconnect because it's not perfect. This is a messy process. Um, and it, like you had mentioned, that it to be able to make those connections and to do this work, really being able to say what is the unsayable, or that feeling of those, that shame that comes up. And so I just wanted to like agree with you that um my wish, my hope for everybody is to lean into that imperfection, which can give permission to others as well to be able to start to reflect and notice those places in themselves.
Mhm.
Um, oh, you have another quote for us.
Yeah, so never let empathy or outrage devolve into mere pity. There is a distinction to be made between feeling sorry for a person's circumstances and advocating for and protecting their personhood and dignity. Recall your agency. Pity requires nothing. Arthur Riley is another incredible uh, teacher, I think, of our time. Black Liturgists is their book, and also you can find them on socials if you wish. I think there is the reason that I brought this forward is that when we're doing particularly liberatory work and anti-racist work, this kind of we can when even in the depth of self-awareness we can feel sometimes the rage is so intense, and sometimes the depth of the pain that we feel for people who are experiencing deep injustice at all levels, in all sorts of ways, can be so intense that it might at times put us in as a nervous system response that's either freeze, like I don't know what I don't know, there's nothing I can do, like it's too big and I'm so angry and like I don't know what to do about it. Or sometimes people end up doing like getting really ragey and um, you know going on like rants that have no direction, that don't actually do purposeful work, but are important. Like rage is important to express, but without the knowledge of like I'm experiencing rage, I want to fight somebody. The energy doesn't really go to useful places, um, and the same with numbing. So if we're feeling a lot of empathy and outrage, sometimes we might end up numbing. And I know lots of my clients, for instance, say there's so much pain in the world that I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should keep up with it or if I should get rid of my social media and like not listen to the news. And so to me, these are all really good self-awareness tools to realize that, like, you know, is the experience of our empathy and our outrage actually putting us into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn? Or are we actually mobilized? Are we actually able to reintegrate it back into our bodies and mobilize in meaningful ways with our words and with our actions?
Yeah, we have in Mar have talked before about the idea of like that sacred rage, right? And being able to, as you say, transform that and have it move us in a way that is um, creating change in a good way, as opposed to like blowing our own trauma, our own things through other people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Well said.
so um for us this year, we're really one of our kind of themes that we're taking through the year is dreaming and
Mm-hmm.
imagining because like you said, and it kind of connected to that nervous system response. I think that there's the feeling for a lot of people that it's overwhelming, it's too big, nothing's going to change. And in part, um, because some people have a challenge of envisioning something different. And
Mm-hmm.
so wanting to practice that dreaming, that imagining um, of where we could go with this. And so envisioning a world where, self-awareness and mindful communication were at the core of our anti-racist work. Like, what impact could those practices have on our collective
Mm-hmm.
future? And would you like me to change the slide too? I need to check in on
Sure.
that as
I,
well.
I feel like I feel like um I think we can keep going. Keep going a little bit on the side. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that the future that we need to birth can't come from the ways that like communication has been happening, which has been based in systems of um, white supremacy, heteropatriarchy, colonialism, and capitalism. I think those are the major systems that um, have been setting the precedence for how we communicate, really. Um, and so when we want to think about birthing a new future, we need to do the work to untether and untangle ourselves from those systems. Awareness is kind of like a very basic foundational tenet for understanding what our relationship, what our personal relationship is to these systems. So, how have I been impacted? How have I been influenced? How have I internalized colonialist, capitalist, white, cis, heteropatriarchal kind of dynamics? How do I untether from that? How do I decolonize my mind? How do I decolonize my words? How aware am I of um, not just the words I say because I've seen them in a book or in a social media post and I can like puppet it out, but how do I find the real words from within myself? And in order to find the real words within myself, I need to have enough self-awareness to know where these words come from. What are my relationships to these words? What does it even mean for me to be an advocate or do liberatory work? What does anti-racism mean to me? Have I done my own excavating of my own shit? How much do I know about how I operate within these systems and where I'm at in my journey of detangling from them? And I say journey because I think in some ways it still shows up. It still shows up in these, your example of perfectionism being one of them is a great one. So the impact that having deeper self-knowledge and conscious communication would have on on our collective future is that we will lay a different foundation by being different. Like our operating differently within the systems in order to create change.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I think, for us with Mar and working with parents, like that's what we see. Like and some may think it's pessimistic, but I don't feel that, racism is going to end in my lifetime. But
Mm-hmm,
the work that we are doing now in healing ourselves and doing that untangling then helps to shape the next generation to
mm-hmm,
be able to stand on our shoulders and create even more change. Um, yeah,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
amazing. I love
Yeah, and what I love about that is that the more self-aware I am and the more consciously I communicate with my children or children of the next generation, the more examples they have of that.
it.
I
Hmm.
know that I definitely did not have a lot of examples
Mm-mm.
of that growing up. And so this is it. Like we're the ones we've been waiting for. Like we are the ones who have to do the work.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so the more we do that and embody that, the more also we exemplify for the generations coming up behind us to lead us. They're the future, anyways. We can do our best to provide
Yes.
what we can. Yeah.
And so you gave oh, yes, you gave a couple of examples of, where someone can begin. But,
Mm-hmm,
if this feels new to someone, the idea
mm-hmm,
of self-awareness, what are some things that people can do to start developing, being more in self-awareness than out?
mm-hmm. I know that it might sound a bit like too simplistic, perhaps, but something like the practice that we did at the beginning of our call of just really arriving into each present moment
Mm,
is a great place to begin with um, with self-awareness work. Um, there's I know people whose bookshelves are lined with books of great self-help books and leadership books and new age books of all sorts that would make us believe that like, wow, this person is like they're just like they've got it. They've got it. And yet when I've connected with them, there is this kind of disconnect between the concepts and the ideas and how they operate in the world. And so I think
Mm,
it, like, without walking the talk, we completely miss the boat. And I think in some ways, um, you know, sometimes people come to work with me and they're like, oh, I just feel so behind. Like, you have it so together, or so and
mm,
so on social media, they've have it so together and they've like figured it out and they know how to say all the right things and they never, I'm like, totally not. That's not, and that's not the point even, but living in a way that is really real and really honest. And I'm hopeful that, like, something like that practice that we did at the beginning, which is, can
mm,
I just can I allow myself, first of all, can I allow myself to fully be here? Do I even feel my body in this space and time?
mhm,
When
mhm,
I'm about to do a land acknowledgement, aside from having looked up whose lands I live on, do I have a relationship to this land?
mhm,
Have I thought about the people who've walked here and like the eagles that fly above? Like, am I in relationship? Um, so I think something like that kind of call it a mindfulness practice or a centering exercise or a presencing or any of those words could work,
mhm,
but something that is genuinely a way that we allow ourselves to get in touch with not just who am I here and now, but how am I being in the
mm,
here and now?
mm,
How am I being? Not just who I am, what's my name, my title, etc. That's why I said, maybe earlier in the call, the way that I did that kind of centering exercise may even be a better indication of how I introduce myself as, a first
mm,
generation immigrant and a mom and a counselor, etc., etc. So there is the um, who are we, and then the who are we really.
mm,
And
mhm,
so I think when we come to where can I begin, um, begin by any kind of practice that brings you into deeper connection into the present moment and into who you are and how you're operating in the world. That's a good starting
mm,
place.
mhm. I remember um, an exercise that I did. It was to be more honest with myself. And
Mm-hmm,
so I had, it was like an accountability partner. So someone that I had invited into this process, and they would allow me to text them. And so I would each day try and create more awareness around for myself around what my thoughts were and what my body was feeling and being brutally honest about it and
mm-hmm,
sharing that with that person to just help
mm-hmm,
um, bring that awareness. And it was revolutionary for me to deepen that relationship with myself and just
mm-hmm.
have a new level of honesty with myself.
I love that. And Carrie, if you hadn't had an accountability partner, so just in case someone is
Mm,
on this call or watching it in the future and they go, oh, well, that would be really great, but I don't have someone who is willing to do that work with me or, whatever. What else do you imagine could have helped you? I think that's ACEs, but if that's not available,
for
what could
sure.
be an alternative?
I think, for myself, having that person was important for me, but also I think, journaling and,
Mm-hmm,
taking that a little bit of time, maybe even in the morning and again at
mm-hmm,
night, and just having that reflection time
mm-hmm,
could work. And I mean, we
mm-hmm,
have so many wonderful mediums now, even doing voice
mm-hmm,
notes for yourself.
mm-hmm.
For me, there was something to externalizing that was part
Yeah,
of the process. That was
yeah.
really important. So I think whatever so works for that person, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm,
journaling or voice
mm-hmm,
notes or doing recordings to yourself or texting a person.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I think everybody knows themselves in that way or try different things, right? You never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
One you might think one will work for you and the other and another way becomes more profound.
Yeah. Perfect. I mean, I think what you're pointing to is again a practice of self-awareness,
Yes.
right? And the way in which that accountability was working was a way that you were in conscious communication with someone.
Hmm.
You were working from a place of self-awareness, choosing your words mindfully, being held accountable. And whether that accountability is to journaling each day or to one person that you text or call or have a weekly meeting with, or, I've had people who, it's like, okay, for 30 days, I'm going to, I have a small group of people who I kind of send, here's my daily reflection,
Hmm.
or they even, maybe it's not to a specific group, maybe it's just like on their social media. It's like, this is my piece of self reflection. And just as a way to keep the practice, it's, that self awareness work and deeper awareness of our communication work is like any other muscle, needs to be practiced in order to be strengthened. And so, what I love about what you're talking about around accountability is that it holds you to continuing to be in the practice so that you're able to move further along on the path.
Wonderful. So on that note, we were going to maybe do a practice with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I am also mindful of time. So right now we're at
Yeah.
10:48.
Yeah.
I have more time to stay. I'm not sure about everybody else, but are recording. So if you do have more time, Taraneh, and want to go over time, I will leave
Yeah.
that with you.
Yeah.
And then if anybody does need to leave, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your morning with us. And once we have a chance, we will send the recording out to everybody so that if you do miss, the last little bit, that you will be able to catch it on the recording.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I would be more than happy to stay for the conversation. I
Okay.
think we can do um, a, a practice for about 10 minutes and then we can see if there's questions afterwards, just so we give a little bit more um, time for folks. And
Wonderful.
if anybody is leaving right now, thank you again for the grace and kindness you offered my terrible connection at the start of our call. I wish you a pleasant day. Okay, so everyone who is staying and would like to do a practice, please grab a piece of paper and a pen or your journal. And do what you need to get yourself like into your body. And maybe if like you feel like there's a lot of thoughts spinning or like, oh, it's been, you're feeling ungrounded, feel free to do what you need, like stretch, lay on the floor, grab a drink of water, tune back in some way that works for you. And I'm going to give us two writing prompts. We will write for um, 5 minutes for each. And my invitation to you is that during this time that we're doing our reflective writing, you let go of the idea that you're supposed to write something profound or
Mm,
really good, or if you're already jumping ahead to, oh, this is a thing I can get out of it so that I could share it somehow. I
mm,
invite you to come back to the present, let the future be. Whatever comes out of your personal practice today, will let's honor it for what it is and what is meant to come through. Um, in expressive arts therapy, we often talk about being in the process of therapeutic writing or any kind of therapeutic art making process. That the idea is not in any way perfectionism. What we call it is low skill high sensitivity. And what we mean by that is like, you don't have to have a high level of skill in writing. This is not like poetry class that, or, and this is not some kind of like lit class where you have to do something for other people. The idea is to have high sensitivity. So high sensitivity to yourself, to the experience, to the thoughts, to the emotions, to your body, to your senses. So we're going for low skill and high sensitivity here, okay? So at the top of your page, um, I want you to, let me just see what might be most helpful right now, given the day that we have. Okay, so let's imagine that we're all on our personal journeys of self-awareness and mindful communication. And we're on this path, and I want you to visualize what your personal path looks like. Does it feel like a mountain? Does it feel like a desert? Does it feel like a forest? Is there an actual path? Are you bushwhacking? What's happening for you on your journey of self-awareness and conscious communication? And at the top of your page, I want you to write, um, I'm pausing on my journey for a moment. I am here, dot, dot, dot. So I am pausing on my journey. And this is like the journey of self awareness and conscious communication. I'm pausing on my journey. I am here, dot, dot, dot. And I want you to write for the next 2 or 3 minutes. It kind of like where are you? So you are here. Where is here for you? And you can write any thoughts, any ideas, any words that come to you around where you currently are at on your journey. What does it look like? Thank you, Megan, for putting that in the chat. I am pausing on my journey for a moment. I am here. And write for yourself where you're at. What do you see? What do you sense? What do you feel with where you are on your journey? I'll keep watch of our time, and in 2 or 3 minutes, I'll give you another prompt.
Hmm.
another minute to jot down your thoughts. And remember, it doesn't have to be for the consumption of anyone else. This is just you allowing yourself to pause and pay attention to where you're at.
Mm.
And I'm going to bring in a follow up um, prompt here, and you can put it on the top of your next page if you want to continue writing the one you're working on again after our session is done or in the future, or you can continue with this next thought, which is in the future, I will look back and I will be glad or proud that I dot dot dot. I put it in the chat if you want to have a look. In the future, I will look back and I will be glad or I will be proud that I dot dot dot. Stay connected to your body and your breath as you do your writing and your reflection. Staying self aware is not just a mind practice, it's a full body practice. I'm going to pop in one more prompt because I just can't help myself. And the theme that we have around envisioning the future really speaks to this. So the third prompt is one day my children will say, or my child will say, one day my children or my child will say, know that there's plenty of time for you to continue with the reflective questions, either after this session or really to revisit them at any time in the future. As you kind of take a moment to look back at the things that are on your page, where you are pausing to notice where you're at, when you're taking a moment to look back from future you, allow yourself to be glad or proud of the work you are currently doing or the processes you're undertaking in this time. Visualizing a future in which your children speak to you words that will feel more meaningful with each heartbeat for the future that we're co creating. Take a moment to sit with all that is within your power, everything you have written, any hopes you have, any dreams you have, any future you're envisioning. It is possible. You have already created the possibility by imagining it, by putting words to it, by placing it down on the paper and declaring it as a possibility. Take a moment to just feel into that. And for those who might be thinking, gosh, but we have a long ways to go. I really invite you to think about like if your journey is this a trail going up a mountain, yes, there's always the summit, but it's important from time to time to pause and look at how far we've come and look at what's around us and honor each and every inch of this beautiful earth. And the same goes with this beautiful journey, even the challenging parts.
Mhm.
Carrie, are you crying,
I
honey?
am.
Oh,
I am a
Carrie.
crier. Oh, but that was just, it was so beautiful. Thank you. I'm probably gonna go let some tears out after this, or now, or both. So as I do. Yeah.
Tears are so welcome.
Mm, thank you. Mm.
So, everyone, um, if it feels like you want to keep exploring, you can keep your journal open. If you're like, oh, I need to down tools and just kind of like pause for a minute in order to be able to regroup, feel free to close your journal, take a drink of water, come back to the screen, and we will see if there are any questions from you that you would like us to chat about before we close the call.
I just have a comment, not a question. Thank you so much. I love your therapeutic writing prompts, and that first one, I think sometimes we need like that sort of prompt to go into another space. Like it was like imaginative. It took me into a forest, and all of a sudden,
Mm,
like all the like thoughts up here became like metaphorical for me, and just like it took me into it in a different way, I think, than if it would have been like a like how do you feel right now prompt, like so
mhm,
I really appreciated that, and the other two prompts too, and that just that like I wrote the least on the like that I will be glad and proud but I feel like that's such an important one because I think a lot of the time we don't take that time to like acknowledge what we are doing and what we are proud of. So,
mm,
and then thinking about how our kids see us. And I think that my tears started to come when I started to think about that one. So, yeah, it was just a beautiful sort of journey with those three prompts. So thank you, my friend.
thank
We do have a
thank you.
question.
Yeah, I see it.
So the question is, how do we best respond to a child that is radicalized and holds extreme racist beliefs?
Mhm. Okay, I'll tell you like I'm going to talk you through like my own internal
Mhm.
process as I read this, okay? Because I don't have some perfectly profound answer, just like you pull out of thin air. But I'll tell you the things that come up for me as I read this. I think first, who is this? Is this your child? Is this somebody else's child? Is this a child you know well? Is it a child you know in the margins? I think the approach to communication would be quite different if it was a child you know personally or a child you know externally. Okay, your own child. Okay. So, first of all, oh, my heart. Um, you know, I often wonder about particularly this word like radicalize. Like radicalize is like an um, external voices coming in and like imprinting and impacting, and then holding those beliefs is like an embodied experience. And so I think that what makes sense to me is a reflection on um, what are the words and ideas that the child is surrounded by, or where are they coming in from? How connected is this child to their own body and their own being, and to the earth and to other beings? How connected are they? Because um, doing like the undoing of this kind of, it's like having drank poison and then the poison is in the body, and mm, we can't just say, well, expel the poison unless the child feels the ways in which the poison is harming them and harming everyone around them. So unless they understand the ways in which this thing that is not innately from them, but that they have kind of swallowed and ingested and is in their system, how it's harming them, how it's harming the people around them, um, they no no amount of stop doing that is going to make them stop. So I think based at least specifically, I mean, this could be like a much longer conversation, of course, and much deeper work to do. But I think generally speaking, I would say um, starting with conversations around like how connected is this person to like their inner world, how do these thoughts and beliefs like feel inside of them, are they helping, are they harming, are they helping or harming other people, some kind of sense of awareness, certainly empathy building. I'm sure you're doing all of the things. I can only imagine, like you're here, like this is you doing that work. I just want to honor that, and also just say thank you for the courage to say like this is something that you're experiencing. I wish I had a more eloquent way to talk about it right now, but without knowing the context of the dynamic and the space and the communication that's already there, I would say like continuing to work on your own experience and engaging with them in their personal experience and bringing some awareness for them might be a good starting place. And also like communicating about what kind of language is harmful and keeping your boundaries around safety upheld, like what makes you or other people feel safe or unsafe, and communicating those things is good to have boundaries with those things.
Would it be
Carrie, did you want to add anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like this is a really challenging position for a lot of parents. Like we have a lot of conversations around this of when our kids are absorbing things, and we maybe sometimes feel helpless or panicked because we're we want to like fix the situation, and sometimes then we as parents may fall in unconsciously, unintentionally fall into patterns that actually help reinforce these systems. So, like when at the very beginning of the call, when we talked about like the influences of white supremacy and patriarchy and capitalism, like those have been infused into how we parent in a normative way. And so, part of this process too, looking at, you know, building that deeper relationship with ourselves and the self-awareness for ourselves and the healing for ourselves so that we can then have a deeper, meaningful connection with our kiddos too.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times for people who become quote unquote radicalized, they're looking for safety, they're looking for connection, and they've just found it in a different
Mm-hmm.
way. So, how can we, as parents, do the work that we need to do to show up in a way that can strengthen that connection with our kiddos?
Mm-hmm.
Because we
Mm-hmm.
know that, when we tell them, don't do this thing,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to do the thing
Do the thing,
because
yeah.
that's like a power over kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's tough because we we want fast solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and when we are working in this realm of healing and connection, sometimes it's slower. Um, but I that would be a roundabout way of saying like just one of the things, if it were me, I would just try to continue to build those points of connection and let my kid know that I still love them and
Mm-hmm.
that I'm here, and try and build those opportunities for conversation and
Mm-hmm.
ask them, what do you think? What does this mean to you? Why is it like, how is this important to you? And have those curious conversations to open up that dialogue so they're not feeling like they're being shamed or pushed away.
Mm-hmm. What you speak to is so powerful and so meaningful. Thank you, Carrie. And I think it's also an excellent example of if you show up for empathy with your child, they understand what it's like to be received in empathy and care. And so, therefore, you're leading by an example of what they could be doing as well out in the world.
Yeah, it's hard when we only have control over ourselves
Totally.
and
Yeah.
not other people, right? And oftentimes the only thing that we can do is work on how we're showing up. Another comment in here is, I'm in the middle of a desert of community as I step back, as I examined the beliefs that I had internalized through my community. And in that process, community feels like it was ripped away from me. How do I hold myself well in this in between desert?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful question.
Mhm.
So much work can be done here around self compassion, patience, awareness, kindness towards yourself, openness and curiosity towards what is to come, resourcing yourself in ways that are perhaps different ways that community show up. Um, and yeah, I think how, here you are, you're here.
I just want to offer a few thoughts. Thank you for your words. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy International Women's Day. Um, um, I mean, you speak about foundations of oppression, capitalism, patriarchy, white supremacy. It's a very heavy load to deal with, and I don't know, how myself how to undo this foundation of harm that has been going on for way too long. And we talk about self-awareness and digging deep into yourself and understanding your own biases and teachings and learnings that have been taken from your parents, your peers, your the media. We're being pummeled by information constantly, and often very negative stuff that is hard to undo and wrap your head around. Um, but I think first of all, there has to be kind of an inherent desire to do better. Um, and then we have to figure out what does that mean. What we struggle with the absorption of certain beliefs that some people are inherently bad. Personally, I'm very concerned about uh, religious rhetoric that kind of stigmatizes parts of our society. Um, because of who they are. I mean, the LGBTQ community has been, struggling under, persecution caused by, to a large extent, religious rhetoric that people have absorbed in growing up, and they take this stuff in, and for them this becomes, a belief that can't be changed. And I wonder, how do we change beliefs that we think may be good because we were told that, um, but need to undo because I think at the base of it, we have to realize when are we doing harm. You can believe all kinds of things, but I think when it crosses the line to doing harm to others, um, I think that's where we have to make the change. Um, so we need to recognize that and realize that systems that do that need to evolve and change. And I don't know how best to encourage people to make that kind of change, to do that kind of critical thinking for us to do better.
That is, sorry, that is a really big question. And I will share that, like, I will have moments of, like, personally, moments of frustration of, like, how can we just get people to care, right? Just need people to care. And then I come back to, like, again, personally, the recognition that as human beings, and Taraneh, please weigh in, uh, um, we are wired for connection. And when we grow up not having the opportunity to learn who we are and build our own sense of identity because of all of the different systems that are telling us, and because of the way that we were parented, that we're now untangling, and that we have same environments, we're easy to we're like leaves in the wind blowing, right? But when we do that work to know who we are, to have fall in love with ourselves, to build that muscle, to be able to sit in that discomfort, to be able to challenge those beliefs in a curious way, that's when we can start changing. And then when we change, we show up differently. And then we give permission to other people to be able to hold their beliefs out and examine those beliefs because it's scary. But if people can see that others are doing it and oh my gosh, they're not falling to pieces, that's holding space for others. And my personal belief, and I mean, it's reflected in a lot of different things, is that relationship is the remedy. So, whatever we need to do personally to be able to show up ready to be in relationship with another human being is how we are ultimately going to change everything. Because once we can be in relationship with someone else, we can see them as a human with value, with needs, beliefs, desires. Um, and that goes for, in this, when we talked about like in the description, the us versus them, that goes for the them as well. When we're feeling like it's these people out here and they're doing the same thing that we're doing, they're trying to create safety and connection for themselves in a different way than we are. And so it's how do we meet them in that? And how do we see their humanity in that? And recognizing too that not, like you said, not everybody is going to want to do this work and allowing that person to have that. That is their journey. That is their choice. I'm not here to force somebody. But being ready to meet people where they're at is how we can have more influence in helping people hold the mirror up for themselves to see the harm that they're causing. Yes. Taraneh, I know that you need to go, but any last words before you have to go?
I'm super grateful to have been in these conversations. Obviously, this is just putting our toe in the water, in terms of the depth that we can each go to personally, and then collectively as well. I just want to thank everyone for showing up for these kinds of conversations, because this is, um, imagine yourself, your heart being dropped into the middle of a body of water, and the experience that you have rippling outward, your self-knowledge rippling outward, your conscious communication rippling outward, your self-discovery rippling outward, your anti-racism work and liberation work rippling outward. So the very first thing to do is exactly what you're already doing. And I am just really grateful to have been in the conversation, and look forward to more conversations to come. Thank you very much for having me. And again, deep appreciation for the grace that everyone offered me with the technical difficulties as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciated your time and your energy and your spirit that you brought and tears that I had. Um, it's a great morning when you can be in community and have tears, right? Good tears. So we will send out the recording to everybody and ensure that we share how you can connect with Taraneh and how you can connect with Mar. And we hope to see you all again another time.
Thank you. Thanks, Carrie. Thank you, everybody. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
You take care.